week since the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA championship. Cleveland was considered the longest-suffering city to win a major sports title, and now San Diego heads that list. Our last major sports title was the 1963 Chargers winning the AFL championship. And since then, the Chargers have been shut out in the Super Bowl. The Padres have been shut out in the World Series. We had the Rockets in town for a while. We had the Clippers in town for a while. But we are now the longest-suffering city when it comes to major sports titles. So it's been a long, tough road. But I don't mind being a sports guy here because it's always being fun talking sports on the radio or on TV.
But let me say this. Buffalo is still involved in that conversation, okay? And there are many, many things you have that Buffalo doesn't have, John. I'm just pointing that out.
Yes, and it's only so much suffering when it's 70 degrees out every day year-round, where Buffalo might be considered even longer suffering because of the temperatures they deal with in the fall, winter, and spring.
Dude, you're really a San Diego guy. It always comes back to the weather, doesn't it? I mean, really. I mean, location. And right now, the Padres' location is last place. And look, the Orioles saw them last year, and we're very familiar with last place. We inhabited it for about 14 years here with an irrelevant baseball team. I am a closet Padres fan. I'm not really closet because I've been talking about it on the air for 20 years. I pull for the Padres. I was a friend of Tony Gwynn and took my aunt out to the Murph many, many times for baseball as well as the Chargers, and I feel that pain as well, and I've talked to many people in San Diego about that. But the Padres a year and a half ago sort of went all in. They spent some money that they had or didn't have, depending on who you listen to. We got an owner here that's pocketed hundreds of millions of dollars that have not been invested back in the team, and the Padres went out in the offseason and said, you know what, in order to compete with the Dodgers, in order to compete with San Francisco, we need to spend money, and it really didn't work out so well over the last 18 months, and now they're trying to back up from that as the trading deadline moves forward.
Yeah, they're absolutely trying to do that. And, the general manager out here was dubbed the rock star in that offseason 2 off seasons ago, and everyone thought that A.J. Preller had made these great moves, and in spring, my gosh, there was so much expectations. And then when the season started, it didn't come to fruition. They were still losing games the same way they lost games the previous years with decent pitching but no hitting whatsoever. They ended up firing Buddy Black. And I have already made a prediction on the air that I believe Buddy Black will lead a team to the World Series before the Padres get to a World Series. I think it was a big mistake letting Buddy Black go. He was not the reason they were not performing well.
Hey, but letting Bruce Bochy go wasn't such a great idea either, by the way.
Yeah, and look at what he's accomplished since then. 3 World Series titles, for Pete's sake. And there, some people felt like, oh, I'm glad Bochy's gone. And other people felt like, hey, this was not the reason the Padres were losing. They should never have let Bochy go. And now hindsight being 2020, well, we can all see the clear vision there. But Andy Green, the new manager, boy, he's inexperienced, but he's been highs and lows. I've seen things out of him that I like. I've seen things out of him where, man, we're dealing with the same old stuff here. But the big A.J. Preller rockstar moves of 18 months ago, they did not come to fruition. And now I think we are going to see, they've already let the ace pitcher go and, James Shields, and we haven't seen a whole lot of turnaround. And I foresee possibly, Melvin Upton Jr., Matt Kemp. There's also been talk about Will Myers being put on the trading block as the trade deadline approaches.
Well, Myers would bring the most, and obviously the kind of year that Fernando Rodney's quietly had on the backside of the bullpen, finally giving up a run this week. There are some parts there, but the real question is, how do you chase the Giants? How do you chase the Dodgers? Lord knows Arizona went out and spent all the money, chased Greinke around, and that hasn't done them any good either. There has to come a point where the farm system becomes a part of that. I've always thought all these years, and look, you've lived there for a couple of decades. You chose to go to college there. You've settled there. You've made a life there, John. I always thought it would be very easy for the Padres to recruit, especially pitching
him up. He does not have initial success, and they let him go too early. And look at him now with the Cubs. And they've tended to do that where they've blown up the farm system. They blew up the farm system a year and a half ago to bring in some of these, bigger name free agents in trades, and it just has not come together the way they would like to see. And I think when you're trying to chase the Giants and the Dodgers, who have much bigger paychecks that they can send out, the way to do it, like you said earlier, is through the farm system, and the Padres just have been unable to develop that farm system. And when a rock-solid guy does come up, they can tend to quit on him too early and let him go.
Pomerantz looks okay, but I know, the big money was on Kashner, right?
Exactly, and Kastner's been off and on the disabled list, like a light switch. It's been a very frustrating thing to see, him do that, as well as Tyson Ross. Tyson Ross was the opening day starter, and
that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
He's done, and so it's been, they've really had a patchwork starting rotation. And while some guys have held up, other guys have not, and that's been another thing that's led to the Padres being back down in the cellar again.
John Howard covers all things sports as the weekend anchor at CBS 8 in San Diego. Somewhere in there, I'm sure there. Do you have some Anchorman fun with the San Diego thing out there? You must, right?
Hey, stay classy, San Diego.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. You got to throw that in. A part of it for your job and for everyone in the San Diego sports media, as well as politics. This Charger story, and I cover plenty of football here. We've had a few parades here with our football team. I know what it's like to lose a football team and have to lure another football team. I understand old stadia, trying to get new stadia built, and I can go around the bend in every direction with this, but the Chargers, it's now put, I guess, the top
that have everything to themselves. The Chargers, in doing so much to leave LA, alienated the fans to such a degree, and now they need the public vote that'll come up in November to get a downtown stadium ball rolling.
It's really unbelievable. I mean, you've kicked the people so much, and now you're going to put the vote to them, and you're going to kick them again when they don't vote for it.
Yeah, exactly, and I think the only way that initiative is going to pass is if the Chargers have a winning record come the November ballot. If they're sitting there and I'm not sure how many weeks into the NFL season it is, but it's probably 8 or 9 weeks, and if they're sitting there at 8-1, well, there's going to be a swell of support, and I think people will turn out to the polls and vote, much like they did in 1998. 98 was the year that the Padres put Petco Park on the ballot, and they went to the World Series that year, and there was such a swell of support, the initiative passed, and that was so crucial to getting Petco Park done. Of course, then they disbanded the team after that and had a fire sale, but that's a whole other topic.
I remember that part of the Padres' history, too. I was there in my mustard yellow and brown jersey saying, WTF, what are you guys doing? You just went to the World Series last year. I knew Tony Gwynn through all that, and when you talk about San Diego and the Chargers maybe leaving, I just this All-Star game's coming. It was supposed to be Baltimore's game, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But, man, when I think of the history of San Diego sports, and I see that statue out in center field at Petco, just outside of the Tilted Kilt there in center field, where we've had a couple of Raven get-togethers when the Chargers have played the Ravens out there, the sadness of Tony Gwynn, obviously, Junior Seau, Ted Williams is no longer with us. I mean, these real pioneers, these real larger-than-life San Diego legends that you kind of want to honor at this All-Star game. There's been some real tragedy tied to San Diego sports, and I don't just mean the Chargers leaving, right?
No, absolutely right. And another name to add to the ones that you listed is Jerry Coleman,
sure.
The longtime play-by-play guy for the Padres, who was not only anybody who, I'm 50 years old, anybody my age or younger, Jerry Coleman was the guy they knew growing up here, listening to him on the radio. He even managed the Padres one year. And, he was also a war hero, and this being a military town, and there has been a lot of loss. And, when Tony Gwynn passed away, and it wasn't really mentioned or he wasn't really honored in the All-Star game immediately following his death, I really wondered if the All-Star game would be an appropriate time to recognize those in the baseball world who have passed away in the last year, much like they do at the Academy Awards.
Sure, at the Super Bowl they do that every year in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think the All-Star game would be the right time to do that and take a moment, either in between one of the innings or a pregame or whenever, to recognize those who have fallen that have had an impact on the game of baseball.
John Howard, he has an impact in San Diego, a couple decades out there at CBS 8 doing his thing. And, okay, so for the All-Star game, this was supposed to be in Baltimore, right? And it would be a BFD here. I mean, we had it in 93. You guys had it in 92. I remember your All-Star game out there and, the middle of the Cal Ripken, Ken Griffey kind of era. Really the steroid era for both of those, ballparks. And the revitalization of baseball in downtown San Diego. Beautiful ballpark. Feels like it's been there a long time. It's going to be a showcase. Kind of sad that the Padres are cellar dwelling here, but it is going to be a wonderful couple of days, I think, for San Diego and for baseball to show itself off at a place that, quite frankly, deserves to be shown off.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of surprised. Petco Park opened in 2004, so that's been 12, 13 years. I'm surprised it's taken this long for Major League Baseball to show off one of its new ballparks. I think an all-star game should go to a new ballpark within 3 to 5 years of that ballpark opening up and show off these jewels of, of the current game. Now, something that your Baltimore listeners may not be aware of, the way that Padres got this all-star game invitation, the story behind it is about I don't know how long ago it's been, 2 years, but it was probably a couple of months before they announced that Petco Park would get to host the all-star game this year. The Padres management decided to create a Bud Selig Wall of Fame in Petco Park. and when they honored Bud Selig with that, it was like a month or two later, Petco Park is going to get to host the All-Star game. And then it wasn't too long after that that Bud Selig retired. And it did not fly very well with a lot of, those of us who, can smell a rat when we see one. We couldn't believe, what did Bud Selig do for the Padres? He hasn't done anything for the Padres. And it was kind of a PR mistake out here, but at least it did get the All-Star game to come to San Diego.
Well, yeah, and, there's no wall for Bud Selig here in Baltimore, trust me, and Mr. Angelos is suing Mr. Selig and all of his partners. They're all entangled in the mess, fighting over hundreds of millions of dollars. So we'll be watching from here while you're eating fish tacos and having a good time out there. You mentioned the Chargers and them having to play for a stadium or at least to be under the public eye. Where are the Chargers here this summer? Where are the season ticket holders? Where are the people that have watched that franchise and the Spanos family literally spit in their face and threaten to move the team to try to be the first ones and the only ones to get up to L.A., even going into bed with the Raiders to do the deal up in Carson? I'm wondering what this is going to look like in September and October, whether it's going to look lame duck or not. We have Eric Weddle out here. Maybe you have a couple comments on him as well. He'll be running around in our secondary this year. But this is a strange time for the Chargers. And quite frankly, I don't think they're very good either, right?
I don't think they're going to be very good. I'm putting them at 7-9, 8-8 tops. I still feel the jury is out on head coach Mike McCoy. So getting Joey Bosa in the draft, I thought the draft was pretty good. I thought they addressed some of their needs in the draft. So I became a little bit more optimistic. But I don't see them being 4 games better than they were last year. They were 4-12 last year. As for Eric Weddle, as a member of the media, you will thoroughly enjoy him. He never says no to an interview. It doesn't matter how badly you lost the game or how great you won the game. He will talk to the media. He'll talk to the media 5 days a week. And some of these other guys, if they lose, you know how it is. You go to the locker room and they're in the shower forever, or they go into the team lounge and they just won't come out. But Eric Weddle is not that guy. The big question on Eric Weddle is how much gas is left in the tank, and I think he's got another couple of good years, but you're getting a grade A class individual, and you're also getting a guy who really is media savvy, and he gets that part of his job, that it's part of the reason he's making millions of dollars a year is because the media goes out and promotes the team, the league, the game, the Super Bowl, all of that stuff. And if it wasn't for the media, these guys wouldn't be making the salary they make. So I think you're really going to enjoy having Eric Weddle out there in Baltimore.
It was really crazy that they picked a fight with him at the end, right? I mean, of all the guys you want to, what are you doing with him and the daughter and the fines? And I mean, just everything around the Chargers has really stunk. And then more than that, the way that Spanos got stood up by his own partners once the vote went to secret ballot, it became very obvious what they thought of the Spanos family.
Yeah, his jaw dropped. I've talked to some guys that were in the room, and his jaw just dropped when he heard the vote, and there was only 2 votes in favor. It was obviously him and Mark Davis. It was a horrible thing, and the Chargers have always lagged a little bit in the realm of public relations. They're always stubbing their toe. And what they did with Eric Weddle, and when he requested a contract extension and they wouldn't give it to him, and then they really got hardball and in the final game of the year, they wouldn't let him travel to Denver. And, and the thing with the daughter, fighting him for missing the halftime talk in a game that was out of control anyway. It was just an ugly mess. They got hardball with a guy that had been a fan favorite and had been really an exemplary figure for your franchise. But they just don't quite understand public relations, and they're constantly making those mistakes, both big picture like in the stadium and more, micro like with an individual player like Eric Weddle. It's kind of a tough deal. I don't understand why they can't figure that out.
John Howard joining us here from CBS 8 in San Diego, where they have little cafes where they play guitars all night and day, and they have the All-Star game, and the Orioles will be out there next couple days. Hey, man, enjoy the fish tacos out there. Of all the trips that I would have taken this year, this one would have been a fun one. Just an in and out, an evening and an afternoon game out there. Beautiful ballpark, and I know it's going to be a great All-Star game celebration, too. We'll be watching. Appreciate the time, John.
Sounds great, Nestor. Anytime you want to talk, just give me a buzz, and enjoy Eric Weddle out there this fall.
We will. John Howard can be followed at John Howard CBS 8 out on Twitter. You can also find his work out on the internet anywhere San Diego sports is sold. You can find me out at Nasty at WNST.net 24 hours a day, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm a very available individual. Just reach out to us. We're also streaming on our YouTube WNS TV channel live, as well as on Facebook Live now. So you can see my face and my Oriole cartoon bird hat, and I'm wearing my buckled up shirt today. I thought that it's a good time to buckle up, right? I mean, we got buckle up, baby. It's a bumpy ride, as John Bon Jovi once sang. We got WNST Rock Week coming July 11th. That's a good reminder for me. All of the interviews I've done with musicians over the course of 25 years on the radio, many of them have been played and replayed here, but the ones that I did before I was on the radio, Billy Joel, David Bowie, John Bon Jovi, the Black Crowes, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Peter Buck from REM. I've been editing all of this stuff. Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I'm putting it all on the radio the week of July 11th. You'll want to check that out. The hashtag is WNST Rock Week, so check that out. Also, anything you miss, you can find in the Buy a Toyota audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Download, tune in when you want, where you want, how you want. It's how we roll here. No more signal limitations, no static at all. Kind of like Steely Dan, although I never interviewed Walter Becker or Donald Fagen. But I wish I had. Maybe someday in the future. Ray Bachman, our executive producer, will work on that. Last but never least, breaking news can happen anytime, and it happens first on the WNST Tech Service. It is our best feature here. It's absolutely free and brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday driving you home from 3 until 5. Birds in San Diego, Seattle, and out at Dodger Stadium. Ravens on respite, and we're going around the sports world talking about all sorts of stuff from Wimbledon to the back end of soccer and the Euro as well. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.